source of love that radiates, one in a power of night, to pour and comfort, support and comfort, cascades flowing down the mountain, calling the children of earth with love in their hearts, with love in their hearts. My soul never loses hope, because your love always teaches me the solution lies in her word. The solution lies in her word. Oh, my mother's arena, harvest of wonderful blessing. Make your small son a good Christian. Make your small son
My Lord, I know that you watch me. I know you know me a lot. If I sit down or I stand up, you always know my thoughts. Either lying or whether walking, you know every move I make. Even before I say a word, God, you know me by name. My Lord, I know that you watch me. 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 God, you lay your hand upon me.
Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome everyone that just arrived and everyone that's watching us. We're going to start our meeting right now. So I invite everybody to close our eyes. Let's do a prayer before we begin. Finding comfort inside us. Calming down. Feeling the good vibrations now of the good spirits here with us. And the presence of Jesus here with us in this moment, involving us, surrounding us. We thank you, dear God, for the opportunity that we have to be here tonight, listening to Jesus' teachings, learning, growing, bringing light to our spirit, to our soul. We thank all the good, friendly spirits that are always with us, preparing us to be here, helping us throughout our day, throughout our week. We ask that they stay with us throughout this night, throughout this study that we're going to do together. We thank you, dear God, for the blessings that you pour over us every single day of our lives. Stay with us, dear Jesus. be with each one of us and our families here represented tonight. So it is. So welcome everyone. We're going to be talking about the gospel here tonight, the chapter 13, which is do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm gonna start. I'll be presenting tonight, and if you guys have any questions, want to say anything, want to comment, want to share, please open up your audio and please talk to us. Right? I like to have interaction and have everyone participate. It's a very interesting topic for us to share here and talk. So I'm going to begin. I'm going to talk about chapter 13, right? Like I said, and there are many topics on this chapter. It's an extensive chapter. So we're not going to cover the whole chapter tonight because, like I said, it's a little long and there's a lot of content in it. So we'll be talking about the following topics, which are here presented on the screen. Do good without ostentation, hidden misfortunes, the widow's mite, invite the poor and the lame, and give without expecting recompense. And the first part of the Spirit's teachings, which is material and moral charity. So we start with do good without ostentation. In this passage of Matthew 6:1-4, Jesus says, "Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by others. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." So Jesus is showing us here that when we do something for someone else, when we help out, when we open ourselves to help, we should not help others waiting for something in return, right? And it doesn't really have to be. We're going to see throughout the slides and throughout this presentation, this chapter, it's not just a material charity, but a moral charity too. So if you help someone, be that material, be that a gesture, a word, or something that you do, we should never expect anything back in return. We should not do things waiting and expecting to be recognized by what we do. And because he says that if we're there waiting for someone to recognize or to receive something in return, upon receiving it, we already had our reward. There's nothing more that we can expect from God or from heaven. And here we see in one of the passages in Matthew 8:1-4, Jesus healing a man with leprosy. So when Jesus came down from the mountainside, large crowds followed him. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus reached out in his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said, "be clean." And immediately he was cleansed of his leprosy. Then Jesus said to him, "See that you don't tell anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest and offer the gift Moses commanded as a testimony to them." So here we see Jesus saying one more time, Jesus said to him, "See that you don't tell anyone." So he didn't tell the leper, "Go and show everybody that I cured it." Tell them that I did it, right? Not at all. He said, don't tell anyone. And here, there's some people might say, but why did he tell him to go talk to the priests, and tell and be a testimony of your cure. And the only reason that this happens here is because at that time, when someone had leprosy, well, let's go back. At that time, they had a book, that when the people died, they would put the names of the people that died on that book. And when a people had leprosy, when the person had, contract leprosy, had leprosy, their names will be put on that book, because they would be excluded from society. They'll be excluded from anything. They had like the valley of the sick, valley of the people that had leprosy, and they had to kind of leave totally isolated and away from everybody. So Jesus here told him, go back and tell them that you're now cured, that you don't have the leprosy anymore. So they can kind of scratch your name from that book, and you can go back to your normal life. But it was so that the man could continue his journey, but not that the man should go tell people who did it and why they did it, and waiting for any recognition on his part. So do good without ostentation, the Kardec explains very beautifully on this chapter. Actually, I recommend everybody to go and read afterwards if you have any more questions. I would like to know a little bit more about this, because the way that Kardec presents is very nicely. He says that doing good without ostentation holds great merit. So we hide the hand that is giving is even more meritorious, because it shows that we're morally elevated. Someone that is doing charity without expecting anything or not showing that they're doing charity is a very meritorious act. It's a very nice act. For in order to view things from a higher state than the ordinary, one must look past the present life and identify with the future life. In other words, one must place oneself above humanity, and in order to renounce the satisfaction that seeks to be witnessed by others and to wait for approval from God. So being here in the Spiritist Center, being Spiritists, we know that everything that we do right now, that we do today, we're preparing ourselves for a future life. We're here today, and we're discovering that we don't have only one life, that life doesn't end upon death. So as we find that out, that we have many lives that we have lived before, and that we're still going to live again, and while we're going through to this time in this lifetime, it could also be due from our deaths and things that we carry from our past life. As we learn all of this, we become aware that our actions today are shaping and molding our next life, our future life. Not just when we reincarnate on earth or another place, but also in the spiritual world as well, because we don't want to go back to the spiritual world and have a bunch of spiritual enemies there, right? A bunch of spirits that are enemies with us. So as we evolve, as we grow spiritually, we learn more and more that when we help others, when we do anything, we're doing because we're building that virtue inside of us. We're letting go of that selfishness, of all that ego and that pride that we have been carrying for so long. So Kardec brings this to us, that we should put ourselves above others and above all humanity, and renouncing the satisfaction to be seen doing something. How many times sometimes when we're doing something nice or something kind, we kind of look around to see if people are watching what we're doing, or when we do something, we do charity or something good, and then we kind of go and tell everybody that we did it, because it makes us feel good, and we all have a little bit of ego in there. That's why we're here. That's why we're incarnated and on earth. So something for us to think about and to see where those virtues that we so want to develop are, we're installing that on us. We're bringing that more to ourselves. So everything we do does not need to be seen or heard of, right? So that's we should learn to help out without wanting any recognition from whoever it is. But it's something for us to learn. And then Kardec brings to us that there are two ways of doing this good without ostentation, right? So he first points out to the wrong ways of doing it. So he brings that how many people are those who only give in the hopes that the beneficiary will shout the benefits from the rooftops, who give large sums in broad daylight, but will not give a cent in darkness. This is why Jesus stated that those who do good not ostentatiously, have already received their those who do good ostentatiously have already received their reward. So a lot of people would sometimes that there are people that they, when they do charity, they do it in a way that they are promoting it, that they're showing it, that they're broadcasting it, that otherwise they will probably not bother or not, be conscious of helping out or doing something. Obviously, I'm not saying that everybody is like that, because it's not. We have like so many people that do it and that help out without wanting to be recognized or anything like that. But there's some people that are still have that. Some of us, and sometimes it's in small things we might do that. In small things in our daily lives, we might say something or do something that we keep waiting for people to recognize it. So that's something for us to think about. I remember one day we're talking about this, and a person said, like, I hate when I open the door to someone, the person, like if I'm going in a building and I open the door, the person walks in and doesn't even say a thank you. And it falls right into this category then. But you're doing it. You're opening the door for the person to go. You're doing a kind action, an action, like an act of kindness, opening up for that person to go in, letting that person go in front of you, go first. And but you should do it without waiting for a thank you. If the person is grateful, is saying, said thank you or not, that is her part, not yours, right? And we should do things without worrying about the other person's behavior. Others' behavior also should not affect our behavior. So whenever someone open the door to you, then if you feel that say thank you, because that is the right thing to do. But there's something. Sometimes it's small things we might do. We might act in ways that we would like to have a thank you, to have a reward, to have a recognition of some sort. But sometimes we want just our parents to recognize, we want our sibling or something. So our spouses, and we forget that these all these little small actions in our daily lives, in our day-to-day lives, in our house, with our family, are also, acts of charity. So then the next part here is like, what would be the reward for those who make their benefits weigh heavily on the beneficiaries? Those who in some way demand to be acknowledged by them, making them feel in an inferior position. For those that are not even an earthly reward because they are deprived of sweet satisfaction of hearing their name be blessed. And this will be the case if someone, when someone helps the other person, but put them down in the process is definitely something that we don't want to do, right? It shouldn't be done that way. And the right way of doing it, according to Kardec and the good spirits, is kindness without ostentation has a twofold merit. Besides material charity, it portrays moral charity. It spares the susceptibility of its beneficiaries and enables them to accept the benefit without bruising their self-esteem, and it safeguards their human dignity. So in this case, in this part would be, if you're offering something, if you're doing, giving something, sometimes we can give in a way that the person will receive that as a service and not like a donation, and and to feel inferior. So if someone comes and say, and ask you something, maybe you can provide the opportunity for that person to earn that. And in that way, you're giving it, but you're not making the person feel bad for asking it or for receiving it. So true charity is sensitive and skillful in concealing the benefit rendered and in avoiding the least harmful appearances, since any moral offense adds to the suffering born from need. The sublime aspect of true generosity is present when benefactors switch roles and find a way for they themselves to appear to be the actual beneficiaries of those to whom they render their service. And I think the Spiritist Center is a place for us that is it's all about charity, right? The motto of our center is charity is the way. The Alta de Souza brings that to us, and the more we do charity, the more we participate in the charitable activities, we learn and we feel. I'm sure that many of you here guys can attest that if you want to speak up. We feel that when we are helping others, we are also helping ourselves. In a way, this is really true, that when we're doing something for others, when we're helping out, when we're extending our hands, we're also receiving, we're benefiting from that action ourselves, because that is helping us put away all the ego, put away the pride, the selfishness. It's helping us develop the virtues inside of us. It's helping us, let go of all those vices that we still carry with us. So the benefits are enormous, not just for the person that is receiving, but for the person that is giving as well. And then I'm going to go into the part of the hidden misfortunes now. Does anybody want to say anything? Okay, so I'll keep going. So in this part of the hidden misfortunes, what is brought to us is that when we talk about charity, right, when we talk about doing good things, when there's like big calamities in the world, a hurricane strike or tsunami or any of these natural calamities, when things like that happen, all of us, a lot of people actually get together and they try to help out. They donate food, they donate clothes, they donate blood, whatever is needed. People start to kind of, that we see that action of that kind of community, the whole, getting together and acting to help out, because that's something that it kind of, these calamities is something that everybody sees, right? It's brought up to our attention in a massive way. So we see that all that, the drive, the food drive, the blood drive, people doing it to help with the damage, to help with, the people that are in need. But with the hidden misfortunes here, what is being brought to us and being called to our attention is that alongside with all these big events, there are thousands of small ones. And those small ones usually go unnoticed because they happen inside the houses. They happen in places that we're not seeing, that is hidden, right? So we see and nowadays we see so much depression, so many people being depressed, so many in this depression leading to suicide, which is even worse, right? So many people feeling lonely. With so many billions of people on this planet, we still feel lonely so many times. So these are all hidden misfortunes. These are sometimes the person just don't have food or don't have money to pay a bill, or whatever it may be. It could be a material need, or it can be just an emotional, a moral need, and there's some other type of assistance, and the person might not say anything. So these are the hidden misfortunes that Kardec is bringing to us. The good spirits are bringing to us here. A lot of times we don't see the need and the sadness that are present on those people around us. And when we are great, in terms of being hurting and crying inside, but then trying to fake or trying to smile and say that everything is okay on the outside. How many of us can do that? We know that we all can in some ways. So we it's something for us to think about, and to start to be more conscious and more aware, and opening our hearts and opening our eyes, to see what goes around us. And sometimes we hear people say like, oh, here it comes, here comes that person. I don't even want to say anything. I don't want to talk to her because I have all my problems to deal with. I don't want to deal with other people's problems. And we forget, sometimes we do think like that. We say those kind of phrases, but we forget that we are all here to help one another. And that's why we're together, and that's why we're incarnated in this world. That's what Jesus told us, love your neighbors, help out, be of assistance. And he said that when you do something for one of your brothers and sisters in need, you're doing it for me, right? And it's in helping others, like I said before, like it's in helping others that we help ourselves. So something for us to realize that there are many human misfortunes, and our attitude may change someone's life, our help, or just listening. Sometimes it's all that is needed. And in this part of the hidden misfortunes, there's an example here. So Kardec brings the example of a lady that was very wealthy. She's very wealthy. She lives according to her society, but she to where she's placed. But then once in a while, she changes clothes. She puts like some simple clothes. She gets her daughter, her teenage daughter, and they go. She brings food and donations to people in need. So she, and in this passage, she goes to a family where the dad is in the hospital, so he cannot provide for the family, and she goes there and helps the mother and the children. They're in need for food, they're in need of material assistance. And Kardec says that she doesn't ask anybody about their religion, about their opinion. She doesn't even ask about their names, because to her they're all the same, and they're all children of God. And when she finishes doing it, she has that feeling, that sensations inside of her that, okay, my day started well, I'm good. Nobody knows who she is. When she does her actions, what she does, when she help out, when she does her charity, she doesn't tell people who she is, where she come from, none of that. Nobody knows that, because knowing, it says here, it's just a name, and a name reveals nothing. Who are we? We're not the name that we're carrying through this life. We're so much more than that. We're eternal spirits, right? But she's an angel. She's helping console so many people, And then I think this passage is so beautiful, and it says, "And at night a symphony of blessings rises to the Father on her behalf. Catholics, Jews, Protestants, they all bless her. So all the people that she helps, say are grateful and thankful for her, and when they pray, they're going to pray being thankful to her. Not, it doesn't matter who she is, where she lives, what she does, and because she's not doing to be recognized. She's not doing it to be known about her actions, her charitable actions. She's doing it because she wants to help, and she feels good helping. And it's okay. We should feel good helping people, because it really does feel good. Because we know we're turning on the light around us and inside us every time that we help and that we assist someone. So charity involves our relationships with our brothers and sisters, be them whoever they are, whatever social position they find themselves, and we can always donate something. At one point that is made through this chapter is that people sometimes say, oh, I cannot donate because I don't have enough, I don't have much, I don't have material resources. But we can always donate something. We can always donate a helping hand, or we can donate our love. We can donate respect. We can always give respect. We can be patient. Being patient and giving of our patience and our calm and our serenity is also a sign of charity. And we can always lend an ear, right? We can always listen. Sometimes, all the person needs is someone to hear, to listen, because they want to talk, they need to share, but they don't have, someone to do it. But there are many ways that we can help out, many ways that we can be helpful and do charity. Anyone want to say something? I'll keep going, but if you guys want to talk or say anything, please let me know. Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
I'm trying to make the camera work. Oh, here you go. So I'm not sure if you will cover later. It could be an idea for you in the end of the talk to just cover the type of charitable work that we do at the center. But one of the things that I would like to say is when you said that whenever we are doing charity, it's also about us. To me, every time that I start feeling like a victim of, my life or the circumstances or anything, the best thing is to go and to do charity, because it gives you a different perspective of your life. You will start feeling so grateful, and also, just like you said, the act of doing good, the smile, even if they don't say thank you, just the feeling that you get, it feels so good. But it also makes you to just appreciate every little thing that you have in your life. So it's an exercise that I like to do whenever I am just complaining too much. it's a sign that I need to go and get involved in the things that we all do in the center.
That is wonderful. And Mano, she said to Chico, every time that Chico Xavier started complaining about something, Emmanuel will tell him, go to the streets, go help someone. And then you see that you have so much, that you have a lot already. This is a very good point. Thank you, Angie, for saying it, because it really is. When we help others, then when we see the misery, the poverty, the needness that is outside, that is out there, when we see other people's problems, we see that we don't have any problems. That our problems are so small compared to what is out there. So even when we're going through difficulties ourselves, like they say, it can always be worse. So it really is true. The more we help out, the more we are grateful for what we have, and the more we can we feel good in being able to help as well. And the more we want to help, the more we help, the more charity we do, the more we're compelled to do more of it. At least I feel like that. So then we go to the widow's mite, and I put like a little note down here. Mite it will be like a contribution. So in the Bible, there's like the widow's offering, but it's a contribution that is very, very small, and it's all that a person can afford. So this is what this offering, by the widows says. So as Jesus looked up, he saw the rich putting their gifts into the temple treasury. So in this parable, in this scene, Jesus was sitting or standing with his apostles, in the temple there, like on the outside of the temple. And he was looking at people put their offerings, on the little place that they have there. And he saw all the rich people putting money, putting coins, putting a lot of offerings there. And he also saw a poor widow put in 2 very small copper coins. And then he told to his apostles, to his disciples, "Truly I tell you," he said, "this poor widow has put in more than all the others. All these people gave their gifts out of their wealth, but she out of her poverty, putting in all she had to live on." So everything that the others gave a lot, but they gave up the extra, And this lady that came, she gave just very little, but she gave all she had, all her provisions, all the money that she had to take care of her and her family, but she put herself aside to help others that were in even bigger need, that might be in a bigger need that she was. So Jesus said that she gave much more than the others did, because she did it out of love, from her heart. And here Kardec says that many people regret not being able to do all the good they desire due to a lack of financial resources. Just only thinking about this is when we only think about offering material charity, helping out materially. And this part is interesting. He says that people would say that they would like to be rich in order to help more, and that their intention when they say these things is no doubt praiseworthy. It is praiseworthy, but and in a lot of cases even sincere. He said, however, in the vast majority, this desire totally disinterested. When someone says like, "Oh, if I had more, I would help more," is that really true? Will there not be those who, while wishing to do good to others, would also appreciate being able to begin doing good to themselves? So what he says here is that sometimes we say, "Oh, if I had more, I would be able to donate more," or "I cannot help right now, but I'll have more later on, like next month or something, and then I'll help out." Or how many times I say like, "Oh, I wish I would win the lottery, and then I would give big part of it to charity or something." And a lot of times this is sincere, this is true, and if the person get to that position, she would do it. But a lot of times when we say that, is like he says here, it's aren't we waiting to have more so we can set it kind of so we can have more for ourselves and then have extra to help out? Are we saying that just out of our mouth? We will truly help if when we have more. Something for us to think about. All that the gospel brings to us, every passage, every teaching, is always about putting us to think, to look inside, to look into our actions, to work on that inner reformation. And this chapter is a big part of the inner reformation on, as far as charity goes, and the way for us to look at the ways that we're doing things for others. When we do something in behalf of others, are we doing it without self-interest? This is the question for us to think about. It's funny because it was also the question that we were studying on Saturday study this past weekend, and it's being brought up for us again tonight. So through charity entails thinking of others before thinking of oneself. A lot of times we do have ways to help, but we are like, "Oh no, but I'm going to use this to buy this and this for me. And then when I have more, and I'll donate the extra." So it goes back to what we're seeing here, the lady donating all she had and not just what she had extra, the superfluous, right? So we see through this chapter, that this our love journey, we need to conquer, and what Jesus brings to us throughout this chapter with all these teachings that the gospel is bringing to us is that our love journey here is loving ourselves first, because sometimes that part still lacks. We're not even sometimes charitable and generous to ourselves. They can morally, in a way of being kind, of being forgiving of ourselves. And then we go through loving our neighbors, right? So really having that the true consciousness and in helping out of true love, just really to do for others, not just doing for ourselves. And from there we go to loving God, too, because we cannot love God if we don't love our brothers and sisters, right? And we cannot love our brothers and sisters if we don't love God. So they're all connected here. And So here Kardec brings to us, those who sincerely wish to be of use to their fellow beings will find thousands of ways of helping. If you look for them, they will appear. If not in one way, then in another. Because there's no one who, having full command of their faculties, cannot help someone, offer consolation, minimize both physical and moral suffering, or do something useful. While money may be lacking, do we not have time, work, and hours of repose to spare, which we can offer to help others? This too is the alms of the poor, the widow's mite. So sometimes we might not have money to help, but we have time, we have like an hour of our weekend that we can go and do some charity, that we can go and help out someone, and we can go and help a person to, fix something at their house because we have those abilities. There's always something that we can do, always something. And like it says here, if we look for ways to help, it will show up to us. And if it's not in the way that we thought, it will be in another. So it's not one way, it will be in another. There's all many, many ways. We can always do something to help. And then the next part here is, does anybody want to speak or say something or comment or share?
I was looking at the Spiritist book to find some questions about the charity and the tonight theme, and I found on. So by the way, the Spiritist book is the first book released by Allan Kardec, which formed the base of the Spiritism, and it's a philosophy book with question and answers that Kardec asked to the spirits. It's a book with nearly over 1,000 question and answers about everything that you can imagine. And in its question 886, and what is the true meaning of the word charity as Jesus understood it? The answer is part of the answer, I would say. Charity, according to Jesus, is not restricted to alms given, to donation given, but embrace all our relation with our fellow humans, whether is situation below, equal, or superior to our own. Yeah, I found it interesting, and I would like to share it with everybody else.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Rafael.
I just have a quick comment.
Yes.
Sorry, worst timing. I just think it's important to, whenever we help someone, also, this is something that we need to work, maybe with, I forgot to say reformation in English, but...
Inner reformation.
Yes, thank you. Is that it doesn't mean that because you're helping someone, you're superior or you're better than that person. We need to look at the other as equal. Maybe this time you can help, or maybe in the future you're the one who's going to need help. Because you never know. So I just think it's important not to put yourself like in this position that you are like, feel sorry for the other person. I think that you're better, you're superior because you're doing that act of kindness. And I can just give a quick example. There are some people outside here in Charlotte, and they are homeless, and they're just living on tents. And we stopped there today, and one of the people who live there told us that he was very hurt and disappointed because someone showed up there with many gallons of milk and didn't talk to them, didn't ask them, didn't say anything, just put the milk there and left. And they were right there just looking, but they like, so he felt like the other person was acting like was like better, superior. Why they didn't talk to us? Because they don't have ice. There's no way to store all that milk, so it's going to spoil. So it's just, I think it's important to see the other, not that, yeah, I'm doing you a favor, here's all this milk, I know you need milk, so here's this milk. No. I just think it's important that to look at the other as someone just like you, and this communication is very important too. Maybe you feel good for yourself, you feel good that you're giving all this milk away, but I don't know, I just think it's important to put yourself in the other shoes when you do something like this.
This is wonderful. This is such a good point. First of all, like, we should never feel superior to anyone else, ever whatsoever, because, we're all the same. There's like no difference. And you put it very nicely, very beautifully that, right now we might be the ones helping, but who knows, who knows what life has for us. And, we might be the one asking for it, in the future, or we might have been the ones that asked before, in the past. And it thinks like this can go both way. People might, a lot of people, when they go through the need to ask and, to ask for help, then when they are on the other side, they will understand and see the other, the need of the other, and see, okay, I've been there, and I would like to have been treated this way. So they will treat people kindly. And on the other side, some people might have been on the poverty, being on the side, the needy side, and when they're on the other side, when they're able to give, they feel superior. So very important that we should not, not think about being superior at all. Especially being Spiritist, especially understanding the doctrine, understanding the reincarnation, knowing that if our brothers and sisters are going through poverty or going through those type of trials, it's already harsh enough for them. They're there for a reason. It's not out of the blue. It's not an injustice. It's a divine law. It's a divine justice in there. There is divine justice in that. But it is so hard already. Why wouldn't we help? If we can help, if we have the means to help, then we should help ease out, the trials of our brothers and sisters. But never by being superior, ever at all, because this is what the gospel brings to us, to be humble of heart, to do things without wanting recognition, because we're not thinking that we're better than anyone. And I like that you brought up this example and this story about the milk, because a lot of times we're like, I gave this food basket, I donated a food basket, it had all this food, and I feel so good that I did it. It's a wonderful act. And many times, like, it's like you said, like, okay, so I donated this food basket. It was amazing, wonderful. There's so many good things inside. I know this is going to help them. But we just went there, we gave the food basket, and that was it. We didn't ask, did you ask if they had, a stove? Did you ask if they had means to open their food? How many times we see people bringing canned foods for homeless people, and they don't have any way to open it. They don't have a can opener. They cannot open up and eat the food, or they don't have a way to warm it up, And sometimes we ignore that. We think we're doing something good, but just giving, just putting it out there, and we're not really like catering or taking care of the real need of the person, the real need of the family, or whoever it is that we're donating to. So very good point, Janine. Thank you for bringing that, because it's really important for us to think about those things, And sometimes the real need might not even be material. A lot of times there were a couple instances when we went with the Spiritist Center to do charitable work, and we brought donations. We brought clothes, we brought food, and we go to the site where we donate and bring these things. And a lot of times, and those kids come and they hug us, and then we hug them, we interact, we play with them. This is the part that is diffusive and the best part of being there. And there were times, there were one instance that were there, and this lady came and she kind of stood by my side and she started to talk, and tell me things, and she was like, those are my kids. Her daughters were playing with the girls from the center that were there taking care of the children with doing activities. And she started talking about them, and she started talking about things, and all these donations happening. And I asked, like, do you need anything? Do you need any clothes? Did you take a look of all the things that we have here? And she was like, oh no, I just wanted to be here with you guys. I don't need anything. We're good. We're fine. I just wanted to talk. She stayed there by my side, and we talked, and she shared. And then after that, she was like, thank you so much. She gave me a hug. The kids were done, and she left. And she wasn't there for the material need, but she was there for
Sometimes
something
that's
more.
a good point.
Yeah.
Sometimes even call them by their names, it's already a big deal. Like, should be so that they can be noticed, they can be seen, and again treated not as inferior, not as somebody who right now it's in a bad situation, but sometimes just call by the name, it makes a huge difference.
It makes them feel human, right? Because a lot of times, the way that we treat people, that we like you said, like not even asking their names, not caring about what is going on, how they're doing or feeling on that day, not asking that. When you treat people nicely and kindly, it shows that your compassion, you're treating them like you would like to be treated as a human being, that you are and that they are. So very important points. Very, very good.
And I would like to wrap up this point with a paragraph of São Vicente de Paul message left to Kardec. He said, true charity is always good and benevolent. It's demonstrated both in the act itself and in the way it's done.
Mm-hmm.
A service rendered with graciousness thus has a double value. But if it's rendered with roughness, the recipient need compels him or her to accept it, but his or her heart will hardly be touched. So that's
Yeah. It's not just giving, but it's the way that we're giving. How are we giving? Right? Very important. Very nice. Thank you, Rafael. Yeah. And this is, this next part, Jesus shows, tells us about giving without expecting anything. So Jesus said to his host, when you give a luncheon or dinner, do not invite your friends, your brothers or sisters, your relatives, your rich neighbors. If you do, they might invite you back, and so you will be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind, and you will be blessed. Although they cannot repay you, you will be repaid at the resurrection of the righteous. And in the parable of the great banquet, when one of those at the table with him heard this, he said to Jesus, blessed is the one who will eat at the feast in the kingdom of God. So Jesus tells us here, if we're doing something, if we're helping out, just those that we know are going to do something back for us, then what is the recompense there? We should do it for those that are, for everyone, for those that cannot repay us too. So Jesus, he didn't intend to tell us also to that we shouldn't invite our friends or our family members and just go outside on the street and bring everybody to inside of our home, to our table. That was not what he meant. Like we know, Jesus' language is almost, always figurative. So what we told us is that we share the good that we have with those that may not be able to do the same for us, So be those, our family members, friends who are less fortunate in a way or another. So sometimes we might have friends, we might have family members that are going through difficult, and we should share with those people too, and be able to do it out of love and not expecting anything in return. So doing this charity without ostentation, without thinking that we are superior, right? Helping out without expecting anything in return. So we this is in the small things, and I really mean the small things, which every time that when we help others, we should never expect anything in return, not even a thank you, because nobody, we should not do things expecting that or saying that, oh, the person needs to do it, needs to do that, not at all, because you're doing it because you want to do it, because you have that to offer. And people go, and time changes, and people pass through our lives, and we have to be in the moment and enjoying the moment. If right now I can do it, if right now I can help, that's wonderful. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I need to do, regardless of if that person is going to help me tomorrow, or if that person is going to do the same for me or not. It's a life is like like that movie Pay It Forward, that you do for one person, and that person's going to do for another, and another, and another. Because a lot of times when we do something for someone else, when we help a person, we help in a way that we can do. So I give you this, I give you this service, or this knowledge, or this thing, and that person might not be able to give that back to me, because if I'm giving that, it's because I don't need that exact thing, right? But she might be able to pass that along and help someone else with what she gained from you. So it's a pass it forward, it's a pay it forward process that life brings to us, especially in terms of helping one another. We help one person, that person helps another, and who helps another, and so on. We don't have to do something and be receiving anything back. We will receive from other people according to our needs. And the more we do it, then we don't have even to worry that when the need comes for us, that we'll be helped. This is what the gospel really brings to us, that Spiritism shows to us. If we're doing it, our part, if we're helping out, we should have that inside of us. Trust that God is looking at us, and that He's looking for us. And then whenever our need comes, that it will be provided for us as well. So then we come to the part of material moral charity, which is really, and this is what the question that Rafael brought to us, right? So the true meaning of charity. So he already read that too. So benevolence for everyone, indulgence. Oh, I guess this is not the one. I don't know if this is the one that he brought or not. There were a few Spiritist book. There are a few in here on the slides, two questions on the slides. But so, what is the true meaning of the word charity as employed by Jesus? Benevolence for everyone, indulgence for the imperfections of others, and forgiveness of injuries. Right? So love and charity are the complement of the law of justice. For to love our neighbor is to do him all the good in our power, all that we should wish to have done to ourselves. Charity, according to Jesus, is not restricted to almsgiving, but embraces all of our relations with our fellow men, whether our inferiors or our equals or our superiors. So there's no levels. You can help, everybody. We should not worry and should not be seeing people are, more or less than we are. It prescribes indulgence on our part because we need the same ourselves. It forbids us to humiliate the unfortunate, as is too often done. How many who are ready to lavish respect and attentions on the rich appear to think it not worth that they while to be civil to the poor, and yet the more pitiable the situation of the latter, the more scrupulously should we refrain from adding humiliation to misfortune. He who is really kind endeavors to raise his inferior in his own estimation by diminishing the distance between them. So, it shows us that being humble, and that we should be tolerant as we want people to tolerate us. We should be indulgent as we want people to have, be indulgent, have indulgence for us. Be merciful as we would like to receive mercy. to do to others in all that we can and all that we wish would be done for us. And so there are many ways for us to do charity, right? So a lot of times we think charity, we think only material. And some people believing that donating some goods, they have done their part, which is what we talked about, about the milk, about donating something without understanding the need, the true need and the conditions that the person is. But the spirits bring to us that moral charity, the need of moral charity. It's not just material, there's moral charity as well, which is giving support to one another, and this type of support, this type of charity sometimes is the hardest one to give, right? So moral charity is simple to do, because it doesn't cost us anything. When we talk about moral charity, we cannot say, oh, I don't have money to do it. I don't have financial resources to do it. It doesn't ask us for that. It doesn't cost us anything material to do moral charity. But it's also the most difficult to do, because to put into practice, because it asks us for tolerance, for indulgence, for humility. It asks us for to give of ourselves, to give our time, to give an ear, to give our patience, our tolerance, right? So why the spirits say, because they say, this is on one part of the spirits teaching, they say in the gospel, it says that it's simple, but it's hard to do. And why is it so hard to practice moral charity? Does anybody want to say, why is it hard? So I'll give something for you guys to think.
I think it's hard because, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yes. Go ahead,
Yeah, I think moral charity is hard because of selfishness. I think, like Janini said, when we practice material charity, we can tell ourselves to a certain degree that we're better. But when we're practicing moral charity, we have to admit that we're humbling ourselves, because moral charity is usually a kindness where we humble and make ourselves small so that someone else can have a consolation. And we think far too much of ourselves to do that, which is why it's so difficult. And that's and when we all struggle with that some way or another, but and it's hard to name. It feels uncomfortable to say it. It feels uncomfortable to hear it, but that's usually what is underneath what is stopping us.
That's true. Very nice. Well put. Yeah. It is hard sometimes, to see, like you said, like to see those things in us. So the material charity, it's easy because we give of what we have, right? So we give of what we have. And when we're giving something, of what we have, this is really important too. We should give things that we would like to receive, not give things that we would put in the trash, because think about the person that is receiving. So when we give material things, make sure that those things are good, that we're giving good things for other people to receive and to do good use with that. So material charity, we give what we have. Moral charity, on the other side, we give what we are. So moral charity, we are giving of ourselves, of what we have inside. So this is why sometimes it's so hard and so difficult to do. Sometimes the material charity is easy. You go, you bring, you give, you take, and it's easy. But the moral charity, it's putting ourselves behind. It's putting the other person's true needs ahead of us. So we're giving of what we are, of all the virtues that we are trying to conquer inside of us. Just something for us to think. So, moral charity comprises of giving support to everybody, to all of our fellow creatures. And it's least done in this inferior world where you now find yourselves incarnated. Believe me, there is great merit in keeping quiet while another, perhaps less intelligent, is speaking. This is but one kind of moral charity, to play deaf when mocking words escape the lips of one accustomed to the right, or to ignore the disdainful smile of those who are receiving you, when they quite wrongly suppose themselves to be far above you. This constitutes merit. However, in actual fact, it will quite often be found that in the spiritual world, the only real life, the same persons are far below us. The merit to be gained in these situations is not due to humility, but to charity, and as much as to ignore bad behavior is immoral charity. So this was brought to us. It's one of the Spirit's teaching by Sister Rosalie. You know, she from Paris. She was a psychography. It was a spiritist, a spirit message that was brought, and she says, you know, that she brings it to us that sometimes just listening, just being quiet, not talking back, or understanding when the other person is saying something hurtful or putting you down or thinking that they're superior, that not saying anything and not holding any grudges, because we understand that that is a sign of inferior evolution. You know, that if that person's acting that way, there might be something hurting her inside, something, you know, that is uncomfortable inside herself. So this is moral charity for us, you know, like, so ignoring bad behavior is a type of moral charity. So another reflection for us, again, you know, working on this inner reformation big time this chapter, I'll tell you guys. I don't know, at least for me, studying it to talk about it and all that, it made me feel like that. So ways to practice charity, right? So another good spirit here in the Spirit's teachings, he says, you know, that there are thousands of ways for us to practice charity, right? And we can practice by means of thought, words, and actions, right? Not just giving, but by saying things, by the way that we think about others even. So we thought we can do that by praying, you know, by praying for the unfortunate who have been abandoned, for those who die without even finding conditions to enable them to see the light. A prayer from your heart will alleviate their suffering. So we can always pray. You know, sometimes we cannot do much to help the person, but we can pray for that person. And as spiritists, you know, one thing for us to consider and to think about is, as being spiritists, one way to practice this charity and this prayer is to invite our friends to come to the Spiritist Center, to invite them to come over for the public meeting, invite to study, because a lot of times there's not much that we can do, you know, and a lot of times these people are put in our ways, are come in contact with us just so that we can kind of invite them and bring them to the Spiritist Center and show them the doctrine and present them with something that we believe and that we feel that it's good, you know, something that we believe it's good and it's helpful. Because when that person comes to the Spiritist Center, we might just invite them, bring them, and not be able to say much to help. We might not help them much, but the good spirits are always there, involving that person, and sometimes one word during that public meeting, one word during that study might open up space for that person to think, to become more clear, you know, clarity to go, for that person to become more aware and start to change and start to see things with other eyes. Sometimes it's one word or one phrase or one sentence that is said through the whole public meeting, that touches that heart. And when that heart is touched, the good spirits can work there. You know, the passes are going to penetrate, the help is going to come, you know, and that person is going to be open up to receive all the blessings and all the help, the spiritual help that they need, especially. So another one, something for us to think about. So prayer is a wonderful way that we can help, you know, that we can offer help. Sometimes we might not be able to do anything else, but, you know, we can always pray through words, you know, by giving good advice to your daily companions, for those who are desperate, you know, to help people, like in saying good words, you can always do that. And through actions, we know we can always smile, We can always say thank you. We can always hug. We can always give a little attention, a little of our time, by listening, by helping out with just small things, treating others how you would like to be treated, even inside of our homes, doing little things for our spouses, our children, whoever is there living with us. There's always something that we can do. Always many ways to practice charity, whatever we are. And as we understand charity according to Jesus here, so Jesus brought to us, benevolence, being, benevolent to everybody, which is expressed in goodwill and disposition to practice the good. So, I'm willing to do good. I'm willing to help. I might not know 100% how to do it, but I'm willing to do it. So I will find a way, being open to do it, acting on behalf of others. This is this comprises both moral and material charity. And then we have indulgence, right? So having mercy with imperfections of others, because we ourselves are imperfect, right? We're not perfect. No one is. None of us in this world is perfect, So being solidary when we're faced with others' limitations, because sometimes we are asking for others something that they yet cannot give us. At this point, they might not be able to give us, and we're there asking and expecting something back. And, we got to be indulgent. We got to understand the limitation of those around us. Avoid to point out others' mistakes. Sometimes we like to say, like, oh, my husband, this and this, he did this and this and this. I know I do. So, sometimes we like to say, to point out others' mistakes, and being discriminatory in that way. So that's a type of moral charity, not doing that, being aware of those behaviors that we still carry with us. And forgiveness, right? So forgiving offenses, forgetting the harm that kind of got to us, forgiving that, someone might have been unkind to us. This is an act of enlightened tolerance, an expression of our understanding of the conditions of that person at that time, at that point in time, because today might be different. We all evolve, we all change, we all grow. As we learn Spiritism, we never go backwards. So we always go up, we always go forward. The Spirit always evolves. So a lot of times, someone may have done something that hurt to us, may have been unkind to us in the past. But then today, we gotta give the benefit, of the doubt. We should give a second chance, and kind of forgiving what happened, and express this understanding that at that point the person might not be able to offer us anything better than that, but today they may have, right? So a little bit more another understanding and expression of moral charity here. So then bringing back the Spirit's book here, the greatest obstacle to charity. What will be the greatest obstacle to charity? Does anyone want to risk a guess? Like as Kara said, one of the hardest things, when
Moral
the
vices.
It what? How about?
I would say moral vices.
Mm-hmm. And there's one there that is like the most prominent, the root of all causes.
Selfishness.
Selfishness, yes. So by what means can selfishness be destroyed? Right? So Kardec asked the spirits, because the spirits told us, through the Spirit's book, and also in many parts of the gospel, they tell us that, pride and selfishness are the greatest obstacles, the greatest vices and root causes of all the evil on earth. All the badness on earth comes from our pride and our selfishness. So how can we destroy that, right? So out of all the human imperfections, the most difficult to root out is selfishness, because it's connected with the influence of matter, from which man, still too near to his origin, has not yet been able to enfranchise himself, in which his laws, his social organization, his education all tend to maintain. So as a society, we are so ingrained on having more and more and more. on the material thing. So selfishness will be gradually weakened as our moral life obtains predominance over our material life. Through the knowledge which Spiritism gives you of the reality of your future state, stripped of allegoric fables. So Spiritism, when it comes to be rightly understood and identified with the beliefs and habits of the human race, will transform all your customs, usages, and social relations. Selfishness is based on the importance you attribute to your own personality. Spiritism, on the contrary, when rightly understood, causes you to look at everything from a point of view so elevated that the sentiment of personality is lost. There's no me, right? There's us. So to say, in the contemplation of immensity, and destroying the sentiment of self-importance by showing its real nature, Spiritism necessarily combats selfishness, and it does it through charity. Right? If there's one aspect that we can find in all Spiritist centers, in any Spiritist center, if it, is charity, it's charity work. And if there's a Spiritist center that doesn't have any charity work in there, that's like, charging you for studies or whatever, actions they do, then it's not a true Spiritist center. That is not Spiritism. So, selfishness is the root of our evils, and it's something that charity really helps us to work on that and combat that inside of ourselves. So we have, yes?
Which
Hello? Anyone want to say something?
No, you can go ahead.
Okay. So I have this here by Emmanuel, and I'm going to read for you guys, but there's another little story that I want to read, but here you go. So charity is above all friendship. For the hungry, it is the fraternal soup. For the sad is the consoling word. For the evil is the patience with which it is up to us to help him. For the desperate, it is the help of the heart. For the ignorant, it is unpretentious teaching. For the ungrateful, it is forgetfulness. For the sick, it is the personal visit. For the student, it is the help in learning. For the child, it is the constructive protection. For the old man, is the brotherly hand. For the enemy, it is silence. For the friend, it is stimulus. For the stray, it is understanding. For the proud, it is humility. For the choleric, it is calm. For the lazy, it is work. For the impulsive, it is serenity. For the frivolous, it is tolerance. For the disinherited of earth, it is the expression of affection. Charity is love, in constant and growing manifestation. It is a thousand-faced sun shining for all, a genius of a thousand hands, supporting distinctly the work of God, of good, wherever you are, between the just and the unjust, good and bad, happy and unhappy, because whatever the Spirit of God is, His constant clarity is poured there for the benefit of the whole entire world. So this is from the book Viajor by Chico Xavier. It's just a pretty message, but I also read this story, and I wanted to bring to us because I really liked it, and I'll conclude with these. I'm going to read the story for you all, and then after I'm done, then if anyone want to say anything and share, please interact and talk. So this is chapter 39 of the book Light and Dawn, Luz no Lar by Chico Xavier. There's like many messages on this book, and each one is brought by a different spirit. And this one is by Brother X. There are many messages in the book that it's by Brother X as well. So it's called The Story of a Bread. When Barsabas, the tyrant, discarnated, he sought in vain to inhabit the grand palace that has served as his residence. His widow, claiming infinite sorrow, had disposed of the house, selling all the ornaments. He then saw his tableware and chandeliers, canvases and vases, carpets and perfumes, jewelry and relics, all under the auctioneer's hammer, while his children were pleading out in court, fighting for the best part of the inheritance. Nobody remembered his name, as long as it wasn't to claim to the gold and silver that he donated to distinguished butlers. And because he could not find himself in the memory of such friends, now, finding himself in the dark, he tried to reach for the interest of other childhood companions. However, among them, he simply found the memory of his own acts of indifference and usury. Barsabas fell into tears, so profound that the shadows took over his vision, throwing him totally in the darkness. He wandered for a long time in the fog, hearing accusing voices, until one day he learned to ask in prayer. And as if that plea served as a compass, even though he was still blind and in the dark, suddenly his blindness was extinguished and he was able to see again. Before his steps, he saw a sublime sanctuary, sparkling with lights, millions of stars and glittering petals shining light in all directions. Barsabas, without realizing it, had reached the house of prayers of praise in the lower zones of the firmament. Despite being dazzled, he cried impulsively before the spiritual minister who watched over himself. After listening to him generously, the angel spoke serenely. Barsabas, each luminous fragment that you contemplate is a prayer of gratitude that rose from earth. Poor me, he sobbed. I never did any good while I was alive. It is true, continued the angel. You bring with you, in great signs, weeping and blood from the sick and the widows, the old and helpless orphans that you once striped in your days of invigilance and cruelty. However, you have here, to your credit, one prayer of praise. And he pointed to a tiny, shy star which shone like a small solar disk. 32 years ago, said the instructor, you gave a piece of bread to a child, and that child thanked you in prayer to the Lord of life. Crying with joy and consulting his memories, Barsabas asked, Jonathan, the rejected boy? Yes, himself, confirmed the divine missionary. Now follow the light of the bread that one day you gave in a gesture of love, and you will definitely be free from suffering and darkness. Barsabas followed the faint ray of the faint glow that emanated from that tiny star. But instead of rising to high spiritual worlds, he found himself in a humble carpentry shop on earth. A man was there, reflecting, maneuvering tools, working with heavy wood. It was Jonathan. He was 40 years old. As they were both identified in the sweet thread of light, Barsabas embraced him, like a downcast traveler, back in the warmth of home. After a year, Jonathan the carpenter was smiling, and in his arms he had his little boy, his little son, whose blonde hair framed beautiful blue eyes. With the blessings of a bread given to a sad boy by the spirit of pure love, Barsabas had conquered in eternal loss the prize of being reborn to redeem himself. I thought it was a very beautiful story, so I hope that
Beautiful.
you guys
That's
have
beautiful.
liked it and enjoyed it too.
I really like it.
Well, that was it. Thank you so much for listening, for being here tonight. And if you want to share, say something, please feel free. I'd love to hear if anyone else has any comments before we finish with the passes. Okay, perspective, I guess. We can now go to the passage.
Okay, thank you, Anna. That was beautiful. I really love the story too. That's very moving. It makes us know that even the smallest of our gestures, when given from the heart, have long and lasting impact.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. So thank you for being with us, everyone. If you haven't already done so, make sure you have a glass of water or a bottle of water nearby to be blessed during our passage. And we will start. Just take a moment for meditation to calm down and go inside of ourselves to receive the blessings of the passage.